Hi, my name is Adrian Pritchard. I'm the global director for Head Sports. We operate across 36 countries, and under Head, we also cover lots of different sports. So we cover racket sports, so that would be tennis and paddle, and then all the accessories that come with tennis and racket sports. We do winter sports, so that's skiing and snowboarding, and then also the protection gear that's attached to skiing. And then we also do sportswear, which complements both the racket sports and the winter sports. So I'm responsible for two teams on Head.com, a growth team and a content team. So they're my main kind of areas of responsibility. Yeah, I mean, when I joined Head, they weren't really doing e-commerce. Head's a very successful brand, making products and then selling those products to the retailers. But they weren't really doing a lot with e-commerce, and they didn't really know who their consumers were. So that was one of the reasons, I guess, why I joined Head, because I saw the opportunity. I knew we had amazing products. I just saw, okay, well, let's start connecting those products to the end consumer. So over those last kind of the 4 years, a lot of my, a lot of my energy and focus has gone into really understanding, who is the head consumer. What is it they're doing? How many times do they play tennis? Which rackets are they using? Do we have an opportunity when they bought a tennis racket, perhaps to sell them something else? So definitely that was a big part of my first year or so, putting CRM into Head.com. So putting a CRM system into Head.com and then starting to collect that data and organizing that data and then putting that into kind of segments. So we could have different cohorts. So if we knew that this consumer was interested in paddle tennis, let's make sure that they get a paddle experience and let's put them on that journey so they keep receiving content that's relating to paddle. But if those consumers are interested in both paddle and tennis, let's make sure that they get both that content as well. And then it's about connecting that that customer into that journey through Head.com. So a lot of the time we know that consumers who come to Head.com come here for more of a brand than commerce. They don't come to buy a tennis racket. They come because they want to learn about Djokovic, or they want to learn about the latest technology in our tennis rackets. So it was about pushing that consumer further down the funnel as well. So get them engaged in the branded content, and then let's push them into the kind of the further down the funnel to the PDP, into the checkout as well. So that, definitely a lot of my time and interest in working with the team is just making us more commercial as well, making us more focused about the consumer. And you can do that when you get data, because that helps you then start knowing more about consumers, thinking about how you can enrich that content, because the more you learn about your consumers, I guess, the easier it is to give them a personalized experience. So definitely that's one area. And then also collecting data as well. We're very successful in social media. We have a lot of followers on our social channels. A lot of them come to us because or are connected on the social side, but not so much on the Head.com side, or on the kind of the content side. So we've been leveraging our social channels to actually get more consumers into Head.com and also collect more data as well. So we do a lot of lead gen campaigns now. So working with the sports divisions, we get some really good content on the social channels and competitions as well. So sometimes, quite recently, Djokovic, when he won his last big ATP event, or we got signed rackets from Djokovic. So we put them onto social media, and then we got people who wanted to win those rackets. And then we connected our social channels into our website. So we made it very easy for consumers to register, to win. And we had these connections between Instagram and then Head.com. So the consumers didn't need to actually enter their personal details in Instagram. It was already there because they're in Instagram. And then we just ingested that data. And we got thousands of email addresses really quickly. And then we get them into our database, and then we think about, okay, how can we build those connections and those kind of interactions and send out more newsletters as well. Social media was already successful before I joined, just because, again, the brand, its heritage, the athletes that are connected to our different sports. So there's a huge amount of following on our channels just because of our athletes. So, tennis, we've got Djokovic, we've got Zverev, we've got Berrettini, we've got Coco Gauff. So all these tennis players have lots of followers. And usually those followers, want to also connect to Head Tennis and our social channels. So yeah, we have loads of, again, content's constant in sports. So a lot of our consumers are following our social channels. But what I've done, I guess, is starting to think about how do we make sure we're more omni-channel focused. So not just doing great content and that same content lives in social, but how do we make sure that content is seen across lots of digital channels and it's the same content? So, now there's a really good connection and collaboration between my team and then the racket sports team. So when we're sending out content or creating content, you can find the same content on head.com on the homepage. It's posted on social. We send out an email. We might do a paid campaign. So all of that is joined up now. And I guess that's something I have had an influence in as well. Yeah, good question. Well, I think for Head, we have very technical products. A tennis racket or a paddle racket, we have a lot of different options when you want to buy a tennis racket or when you want to buy a paddle racket. And even I'm still learning, about these different products. And I think that's where AI can definitely start to help, because consumers will leave lots of signals as they move around the website, and even clues, I guess. But we can't, as humans, it's pretty hard to kind of track all those signals and clues that are being left. And I think that's where definitely AI can help improve. I think if you give the customer a personalized experience, that builds loyalty and trust as well. As long as it's relevant and it's going to help them, then I think that for me is also going to strengthen the relationship that we have with our consumers. And I think that's where I struggle at the moment to be able to do that, just because every consumer is different. And paddle's a good example. I don't know when a consumer's on the site if they're left-handed or right-handed, or if they like to play at the front of the court or the back of the court. But I guess slowly those kind of information, AI can learn a little bit from how the consumer is and maybe some of the data points that are being picked up. So step by step, I definitely think AI is going to help with personalization. Obviously, personalization drives conversion as well. Yeah, there's one that's pretty exciting. Hasn't gone live yet. It's called Try Before You Buy. So again, a paddle racket, for example, it's quite a big investment, 150, 200 euros. And sometimes consumers, they want to try it before they buy it. And it's something that we're looking to launch ahead. So consumers will be able to go into a different journey. So some consumers who just know what they want, they're going to go to head.com, they buy a racket because that's the one they want. But for the consumers who want to try something first, they can go down a different channel, a different route. So they can select certain rackets from the try before you buy category. And then we will then send them the racket. They'll pay a small fee when we send them the racket. They get to try it. All of this is managed within our system, so we know the day it's sent, and they have to agree to a date when we're going to get it back as well. And then once they've tried it, if they like it, and then they send the demo back to us, we can then send them a new racket with a small discounts as well. And I like that idea. I think that's going to hopefully give consumers more reasons to come to head.com and try something out. And maybe if it works with paddle, we might do it with tennis as well. Skiing, I think, would be a bit difficult because the ski is pretty big and it's pretty hard to move around so much. But definitely paddle and tennis, I think, could work quite well.